On day 27, we'll leave Rapid City and drive over to Mount Rushmore, then drive the Iron Mountain Road south into the Custer State Park. Then we'll drive the Needles Road over to Crazy Horse Memorial, drive to the Jewel Cave and down to Wind Cave, and then back through Custer State Park, hitting the Iron Mountain Road going north to Mount Rushmore, and then returning to Rapid City for the night. As we head out in the morning, it's raining some, and it'll turn into a lighter rain, but a lot of fog by the time we reach into Keystone, which is the entryway to Mount Rushmore Monument.
Now the tourist tramway adventures. Pretty wild taste.
Just outside of Keystone, we come to Mount Rushmore National Memorial. And soon we'll be driving in and parking our car. Unfortunately, Mount Rushmore is a whole lot like Hidden Lake. It's hidden by the fog, and we really can't see too much here. This was first proposed by Don Robinson in 1923, but it took many years to get it built. And now as we stand here, the wind is blowing the fog away a little bit, and we'll get to see a little bit of the mountain before we leave. We actually started on this on October 1st, 1925, by planting a flag at the top. And now we're heading out. We'll be back this afternoon when it clears off. We'll be heading south toward Custer State Park along the Iron Mountain Road. This road is 18 miles long, has 314 curves and 14 switchbacks, and it was supervised by Peter Norberg as it was being built. Along the way, we'll be bumping into wildlife along the road. Here's 3 mule deer. This road is described as one of the most scenic roads in the United States. It has 4 pigtail bridges. These bridges are kind of unusual in that they curve around upon themselves several times in order to gain height or lose height, depending upon which way you're going. Around and around we go. These bridges were invented by C.C. Gideon, especially for this highway. And here comes another pigtail bridge. They built them out of logs so they blend into the surroundings. Now as we round this curve, we come to the first of 3 tunnels that were built. This is the Don Robinson Tunnel, named after the first person to think up the building of Mount Rushmore. And these tunnels, when you're going the other way, going north, all look directly at Mount Rushmore. We'll be seeing that when we come back through. They also decided at several places to split the lanes and let them go opposite directions. That way you seem to be more alone as you come. This was the original road they built to go to Mount Rushmore. We came on the 4-lane road from Rapid City, but it wouldn't have existed until about 20 years ago. Next we come to the C.C. Gideon Tunnel. This is the man who invented those pigtail bridges we've been driving on. And again, going the opposite direction, you'd be looking directly at the Mount Rushmore and the statues there. As we get up higher, it continues to be rather foggy. And soon we're headed through the last of the bridges, the Schofield-Johnson Tunnel. He's the one that built the Needles Highway that we're going to be on in just a few minutes. As we come to the end of the Iron Mountain Highway, we come to a tourist area and a resort that's inside Custer State Park. We haven't officially entered yet through the entryway, but we will be soon. And now it's time to go through the official entrance into Custer State Park. We get a pass where we'll be able to go in and out for the next 3 days. Custer State Park is as big as most of our national parks, so we'll be looking at just the northern part today. Let's get on the road. One of the main lodges here is the State Game Lodge. Both President Coolidge and Eisenhower have spent time here while they were presidents. Now it's time to head northeast. We'll still be staying in Custer State Park, but we're going to be on the Needles Highway going north. The Needles Highway is 14 miles long and is closed during the winter due to snow in the higher elevations. It travels through a pine and spruce forest, but the iconic displays here are the rock displays called needles, where they stand up as spikes. Out west, they seem to be the same thing as what they would have called hoodoos, except these are made out of granite and those are out of sandstone. Deer seem to be everywhere. Here's one running across the road. Well, actually walking. Doesn't seem to be in much of a hurry and doesn't really care about the cars. There are 2 tunnels on this road, and this is the Iron Creek Tunnel. And soon we're driving in amongst the rock formations called needles. And we're going to see an eye of a needle a little bit further down the road. And we continue to travel along in the light fog, and soon we come to the Needles Eye Tunnel, and we'll be going through after this truck. It's definitely a one-lane tunnel. As we come out the other end, we're going to park and look around a while at the needles all around us. And then there's the needle's eye. You can see how it looks kind of like a needle's eye there. And it matters which way you look at it. The one in the middle actually is the needle's eye, but it's not able to see it. Then off we go. The sky gets a little bit bluer and maybe a little bit less fog. And then we arrive at Sylvan Lake, the end of the Needles Highway, and the end of our time in Custer State Park. We head down the main highway and soon we come to the Crazy Horse Memorial. This is the brainchild of Henry Standing Bear. He wanted to make sure the white man knew they had heroes too. So in 1940 they started carving here, and this is what it looks like now. Although Korsak Sikorsky died in 1982, they have continued work here, and they have much work to do. They've been doing all this work without government assistance and donations only. So it takes a long time. And these are the two people who started this. This is what they were planning to build, and this is what it looks like right now. And now it's time to head on. We're going to be passing through Custer. It's one of the major hubs in this area in a fairly large town. But we're just passing through because we're heading on over to Jewel Cave. There are dozens of caves in this area that you can tour. We're going to be looking at two of them today, Jewel Cave and Wind Cave. They're both national monuments, but neither one of them we're going to be able to go into the cave. And now we enter Jewel Cave National Monument. This is a fairly small national monument, and we just drive along the roads into the visitor center. Along the way we'll be seeing some animals. Soon we arrive at the end of the road at the visitor center. We'll not be able to go into this cave because the elevator is broken. But we do see a chipmunk as we're there. They sure are fast and very tiny. This cave was discovered when Frank and Albert Michu heard a whistling noise coming from a hole. Underneath here is the second largest cave in the world, over 200 miles, and discovering more all the time. It's made up of 7 different levels and goes all over this park. And they're still discovering more every day. Calcite crystal covers 90% of the walls here, but there are other things too, like dripstone, popcorn, and frostwork formations that we find here. And occasionally some draperies like it hangs down here, and some even looks like bacon. There are 5 different tours to take here, but again, we take none of them because we can't get down in the elevator. But this is what the cave looks like if we could have gone there. And now it's time to head on and go to other things to look at. Soon we're passing back through Custer. This time we're going to take a different road. We're heading to Wind Cave, another national park. Wind Cave was the 7th national park made in the United States. Wind Cave is giving Jewel Cave a run for its money. It has 148 miles, and is more being discovered, about a mile a year being discovered. And now we enter the park itself. It's a fairly large park, but we're only going to look at the western part along the roads. This park is not only a cave, it's a mixed grass prairie area where we can see prairie dogs and one of the larger herds of bison. Wind Cave was found when Tom and Jesse Bingham were exploring one day, and one of their hats blew off, so they went to explore the hole. An unusual thing about Wind Cave is though it's large, it's only under 1 square mile. It just folds back and forth on top of itself. And after it was found, Alvin McDonald, an 18-year-old, explored it. There's going to be popcorn formations here, and also frostwork. Boxwork is the iconic part that is here. 95% of the world's is found here. It's formed when sediment fills in the cracks and then the limestone dissolves. And we could go down in the cave, except its elevator is broken off so. We're at the end of the season and they're working on the elevator, so we go to the visitor center. The elevator building's closed, but I'm going to walk over to the natural entrance. That hole there, about 18 inches in diameter, is where they first found and crawled through. So you can see the wind blows out of this when there's high barometric pressure inside and low outside. And there's a new opening they have where visitors can go in. And now let's go back to explore some of the above ground features. And wherever you find prairie dogs, you usually find bison, as they tend to hang around because the prairie dogs keep the grass short. As we leave, here's a bull bison right on the side of the road where we can look at it real well. We're going to see a few more before we get out. And here we're looking across Prairie Dog Town. You can see hundreds of prairie dogs out there. In fact, this is the largest one in the world. It's 10 miles long and 3 miles wide, 30 square miles. And now it's time to head on north back into Custer State Park. Along the way, we decide we're not going to look at this sign right here. The bison needs to rub, and we're just going to leave him alone. Soon we're heading back into Custer State Park, and as we're driving along, we notice something running along the side of the road. It's a coyote. He's hanging around this blacktail prairie dog town, probably looking for some food. And there's a couple of others further on out. These aren't the only predators around the prairie dogs. They've also started releasing back into this area Blackfoot ferrets. They died out about 20 years ago, and now they're reestablishing them. We didn't see any of them or of badgers in this area. Soon we're leaving Custer State Park, and we'll be getting on the Iron Mountain Road again, going north, the way it was normally meant to go to Mount Rushmore. First we come to the Schofield-Johnson Tunnel, and right there in front of you is Mount Rushmore. On down further, we come to the Don Robinson Tunnel, and once we get past the glare through the tunnel, there is Mount Rushmore again. Soon we're entering Mount Rushmore National Memorial, and we're going to be heading to the parking area. We'll be able to use our parking pass again, as it's good for the whole day. Mount Rushmore area is fairly large, but we're not going to be able to look around a lot of it because of construction going on, and we have to stay up near the gift shop. Gutzon Borglund came here to start this work. This is what it looked like when he started. And 500,000 tons later, this is what it looks like. It was started in 1929 and ended 14 years later at a cost of a little under $1 million. 3 million people come each year to look at it. Gutzon Borglund died during the construction, and his son Lincoln took over for his father and completed the work. This sculpture is 30 feet tall, and Washington's eyes are 11 feet long. As you can see, the fog is gone now, and we can get a much better view as we walk up to the gift shop. Jefferson is here to represent government by the people. Lincoln is here to represent the permanent union of the states. Washington is here to represent the struggle for independence. Roosevelt is here to represent the bonds that link our country together. Behind the memorial is a room. It was originally meant to house the documents of our nation. And then further back you might find all sorts of things behind the mountain. Jefferson made the first ice cream recipe, and the ice cream here is made by that recipe, and it's good vanilla ice cream. Deborah liked it a lot, and she liked dripping it on the ground so the chipmunks would come and eat it, even though it said don't feed the animals. And now one last look before we head back to Rapid City for the night. Along the way we pass back through Keystone, the gateway to Mount Rushmore. And then we're arriving in Rapid City, where we'll go to our hotel after eating and spend the night, thus ending day 27.